Hello, my beautiful alphas. Good morning, and welcome to the fire. Because today, you are not here for soft whispers, affirmations, or little pep talks. You didn't crawl out of bed, scars stitched into your skin and soul, just to be told to play nice with the world. Number. You're here because your name's trending, not because you begged for attention or played the game clean, but because you walked through hell with gasoline blood and still didn't flinch. They're arguing about you, whispering, creeping, scrambling through your past like rats in a flood, hoping to find the flaw, the crack, the weakness that might explain how you keep rising. They want to know who you want, what you want, why you don't break. They still don't get it. And that's what terrifies them the most. You see, when the world can't define you, it starts trying to contain you. They'll give you labels: too much, too cold, too mysterious, too ambitious, too distant, too silent, too dangerous. But here's the truth, the one they can't say out loud. You're too powerful, not because of what you've done, but because of what you haven't yet unleashed. You haven't even tapped into your final form. You're playing the long game while they're stuck in petty drama, and that's the reason your name lingers in their mouths, like smoke after a fire. You left a mark, not with noise, but with silence, not with exposure, but with mystery. You didn't need to be loud, you just needed to be undeniable. Let them argue, let them spiral, let them create stories, conspiracies, entire timelines about what you're doing and who you're doing it with. That's their energy being wasted, not yours. While they burn time, you build legacies. While they screenshot your life, you rewrite your destiny. Understand this: the more you do without explaining, the more they fear what they can't control. Your silence is your weapon. Your unpredictability is your shield. Your disinterest is their punishment. They don't know who you want, and that is your power. Because when no one knows what moves the king, the board belongs to you. But don't get it twisted. This game isn't for the weak. To be you, to walk with this kind of presence, this aura, this silent dominance, it takes a heart forged from shadow and steel. You've watched people you trusted turn. You've seen love weaponized, truth twisted, loyalty sold for validation. And still, you rise. Still, you choose not to bend. That's not luck, that's will, that's self-mastery, that's power rooted in pain, refined by rejection, and purified by purpose. You were never supposed to fit in. You were built to stand out and to stand alone if necessary. Because leaders, warriors, kings and queens don't move in crowds. They move in silence. They strike when the world sleeps, and when they speak, the earth shakes. So yes, they're talking. They're creeping. Watching every post, every word, every flicker of movement from the shadows. And deep down, they don't hate you. Not really. They hate that they need you to validate their own worth. They hate that you shine without their applause, that you exist without their permission, that you don't chase, beg, or explain. You simply are. And that infuriates the ones still trying to find themselves in reflections of others. You are the storm. You are the chapter they can't skip. You're the reason they can't sleep, because you're doing what they never had the nerve to try. Now, let's talk about power. Not the kind you flex with money or status, but the kind that radiates from restraint. The kind that makes people respect your silence more than they respect others' noise. Power is in knowing what you could do, but choosing when and how to do it. Power is waking up every day, knowing you've been underestimated, overlooked, lied about, and still walking like royalty through chaos, not flinching, not chasing, not breaking. You've walked through betrayals with your head high, Watched people try to copy your style and fail because they couldn't copy your soul. And still, you never lost yourself. They think they know you because they follow you. They don't. They think scrolling through your life means they've earned access. They haven't. Because you're not a story, they can't skim you. You're not a trend, they can't time you. You're a force, a movement, an entire vibe that shifts energy when you walk into the room. The loudest one in the room ain't the threat. It's the quiet one with eyes like knives and a mind like war. That's you. And they feel it. That's why they argue. That's why they obsess. Because even in silence, your name hits harder than their screams. So ask yourself, do you really want them to know who you want? Do they deserve to know your intentions, your goals, your heart? Number, because not everyone gets access to the empire. Some were only meant to watch the throne from the outside. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Keep them spinning while you rise. Because mystery isn't weakness, it's armor, it's strategy. When they don't know your next move, they can't stop it. And when you finally strike, they'll realize they were never in your league to begin with. You see, real power doesn't explain itself. It doesn't apologize. It doesn't need to justify the path it's on. Real power moves like water, calm, deep, and capable of drowning anything that underestimates it. You are that power. And if they're still arguing about you, it means you're still living rent-free in their heads. If they're still creeping, it means you're still the blueprint they're trying to decode. And if they still don't know who you want, good. Because it means they haven't figured out the chessboard while you're already playing your fifth game. But let me be clear. This path isn't for the faint-hearted. It takes a savage kind of peace to live like this. To love deeply, but selectively. To be present, but unreachable. To be kind, but unshakable. You've learned the art of self-possession, the kind that can't be faked, copied, or stolen. And that's why they hate you. That's why they talk. Because they know they could never be you, even if they tried. You've bled too much. You've been through too much. And you've built a world within yourself that no one can conquer. So walk tall, Alpha. Let your name trend. Let them talk. Let them twist the truth and chase shadows. It doesn't matter. Because while they're caught up in the illusion of you, you're becoming the reality they'll never touch. And one day, when your name is written in stone, when your legacy is untouchable, and your silence legendary, they'll realize they were arguing about a ghost while you were building your empire in silence. Keep them guessing. Keep them creeping. Keep them obsessed. Because the moment they figure you out, you've already evolved again. You are the mystery they'll never solve, the fire they can't put out, the storm that rewrites skies. And no matter what they say, they'll always remember your name, not because of what you gave them, but because of what you never did. The irony of it all is, they swear they hate you, but they study you like scripture. They mimic your moves, rehearse your tone, replicate your style, but it always falls short. Because what you carry isn't just style, it's substance, it's depth, it's the pain you swallowed in silence, the nights you clawed your way out of darkness without a single hand reaching back. That's not something you can copy. That's something earned. Every scar, every setback, every betrayal carved the soul they now envy. And while they chase surface, you've mastered shadow. You don't just walk in darkness, you command it. You are both the wound and the weapon, the ache and the answer. And they feel it, even when they can't explain it. So when they argue, when they speculate, when they dissect every frame of your life like surgeons desperate for a diagnosis, it's not curiosity, it's fear. Because people fear what they don't understand, and they can't understand how someone like you keeps standing after everything that should have broken you. You weren't handed peace. You wrestled it from chaos. You weren't given confidence. You built it brick by brick, with hands still bleeding from the collapse of everything you once loved. And they don't see that. They just see the result. They see the glow, not the fire that forged it. But that's how it's supposed to be, because the real ones don't need to explain their origin story. They live it every damn day. Now, I want you to remember this. They don't deserve your truth, not all of it. They don't deserve your softness, your warmth, your vulnerability. Those are currencies you only spend on the worthy. The rest? They get the armor. They get the silence. They get the distance. Not because you're cold, but because you finally learned how to protect your power. There's no shame in guarding your light from those who only come to dim it. That's not being heartless. That's being sovereign. You've been too open, too giving, too loyal to people who couldn't see your value until it was weaponized against them. Now you move like thunder. Sudden, unforgiving, untraceable. And still, they wonder who you want. But the truth is, what you want is far more dangerous, because you want freedom, peace, mastery, and that scares people more than any love ever could. And maybe that's why you're trending, because you're not looking to be chosen. You're not waiting to be understood. You're not performing for acceptance anymore. You've already chosen yourself. And that kind of self-devotion is lethal to those still begging for crumbs from people who never cared. They can't process the fact that you don't need them, that you're not checking for their approval, that your silence isn't weakness, it's lethal indifference, and it's killing them slowly. Every post you don't make, every call you don't return, every reaction you refuse to give, you're starving their ego without lifting a finger. That's power. And they know it. They think the crown you wear is decorative. They don't realize it's heavy, battle-worn and drenched in the blood of your old self. They think you woke up like this, but they didn't see the nights you didn't sleep, the days you faked strength because people depended on you, the losses you buried while still showing up with a smile. They don't know how many times you had to whisper to yourself, "Don't break." Not yet. And you didn't. You never did. That's why you trend. That's why they obsess. Because deep down, they know they wouldn't have survived what you did, and still you rise, elegant, brutal, and untouchable. You don't owe them a damn thing. Not your story, not your heart, not your energy. Let them fantasize. Let them theorize. You've outgrown the need to be understood. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be legendary, to be unforgettable, to be the shadow they can't escape. You want to know why your name keeps rising in conversations that have nothing to do with you? Because you left an imprint, not a presence, an imprint. Something so deep, it can't be erased, even if they delete every trace of you. You're in the frequency now, in the air, in the silence between their fake laughs and hollow nights. You haunt them, not as a ghost, but as a reminder of everything they'll never be. You didn't ask to be an icon. You became one by surviving, by evolving, by cutting off what tried to kill you and growing sharper because of it. That's what legends are made of. Not the pretty stories, but the pain beneath the silence. And while they argue, they don't even realize they're building your myth. Every word they speak, free promotion, every attempt to tear you down, another brick in your throne. Every time they twist your name, another chapter in your legacy. And you, cold, calm, collected, you don't lift a finger. Because the moment you respond, you validate. But the moment you stay silent, you dominate. So walk with fire. Let them chase shadows. While they debate who you want, you're choosing what deserves you. And that's what they'll never understand. You're not looking for attention. You're hunting purpose. You're not addicted to noise. You've mastered stillness. And it's in that stillness that empires rise. Real ones, silent ones, dangerous ones. You are the architect of your own ascension, and their confusion is your confirmation. If they're still obsessed, it means you're still light years ahead. If they're still watching, it means you're still relevant. And if they still don't know who you want, it means you've succeeded in doing what very few ever do. You've become untouchable. And that, my beautiful alphas, is the highest form of power. There's a strange thing that happens when your energy ascends to another plane. They don't just notice, they feel it before they even see it. You walk in, and the air thickens. Not because you make noise, but because you are noise, concentrated and contained. Every step you take is heavy with presence, but never with desperation. They look for signs of emotion, some glimpse that they still matter, but all they see is poise. That quiet, murderous kind of peace that makes people uncomfortable. The peace of someone who's done bleeding for the wrong ones. The calm of someone who has buried every old version of themselves and didn't bother to leave flowers on the grave. You've become the funeral and the rebirth, the silence and the storm, and they can't look away because deep down they thought you'd fold. They thought the weight would finally crush you. But here you are, eyes colder, moves sharper, heart harder, but never closed. That's the part that breaks them. You still love, but only those who've proven they can carry your name without tarnishing it. You still give, but only to the rare few who understand that your time is a kingdom, not a favor. You still lead, but only from a distance now, because you've learned that the loudest cheers often come from the mouths that bite the fastest. And that lesson, that cost you everything, but it gave you something better in return. Clarity. Clarity is what made you lethal. Not rage, not revenge, not bitterness. Number. It's that clear-eyed, unfazed, high-ground vision that separates you from the noise. You stopped reacting because you realized not every battle is worth your breath. You stopped proving yourself because you remembered who you were long before they doubted you. You stopped entertaining confusion because you became the answer. You're not here to be figured out. You're here to be followed or feared. There's no in between. That's what drives them mad. You didn't beg. You didn't explain. You just left and leveled up. And now they talk about you like a myth, because no one can explain how you became everything they wanted without ever needing them. You gave them a front row seat to greatness, and they thought they could mock the script. But legends don't need witnesses. You don't need applause. You are the stage and the performance, the light and the shadow. They don't realize that what they feared wasn't your presence, it was your absence. Because when you disappear, things fall apart. Energy shifts, rooms, dimension. Because you were never just there. You were the glue, the fire, the pulse, but they didn't value it. And now they're addicted to the idea of you. They check in silence. They scroll without engaging. They send messages they never intend to deliver. And all the while, they're trying to piece together a puzzle that no longer exists. Because you burned the old version of yourself, set fire to the weakness, the dependency, the over-explanation. You let the silence do what words never could. Set boundaries. Kill attachments. Force growth. Now they're crawling through your digital shadow, hoping to catch a glimpse of the old you. But that person? Gone. Replaced by someone too focused to care, too evolved to return, too dangerous to be approached without intention. And that's the final evolution, indifference. Because when you stop caring about proving them wrong, you start becoming impossible to define. You go from being underestimated to being feared, from being studied to being followed. And that's when you become immortal. Immortality isn't about never dying. It's about never being forgotten. It's about planting your name in the collective memory of everyone who tried to play with you, doubt you, ghost you, or use you. It's about every what if they asked themselves at 2 a.m. while staring at the same walls you once lit up. They remember your laugh, your silence, your stare, your exit. That's the mark you left. Not just presence, but absence that echoes. And that's something they'll never admit out loud, because it would mean acknowledging that you mattered, that you changed them, that you made them feel something they couldn't replicate. So they'll argue, speculate, project, create entire narratives where they were the victim, where you were the villain. Let them. The truth doesn't need defense when the lie runs out of breath. And when they finally get tired, when the spotlight fades and the noise dies, they'll still be left with one question they can't shake. Who do you want? Not realizing that you stopped wanting people, you started wanting purpose. You don't chase connections, you attract alignment. And the ones meant for you, they'll never need to guess. They'll know. Because you don't beg for attention when you walk in purpose. You don't explain yourself when you're building legacy. You don't bend when you were born to break patterns. And legacy, my beautiful alphas, that's where this road leads. Not to likes, not to applause, but to impact, to echoes that outlive your presence. You're not building for today. You're carving monuments into time. Every decision, every silence, every exit is a brick in your empire. And the ones still obsessed with gossip and games, they'll never understand, because they live for moments. You live for meaning. They talk about people. You build systems. They post for attention. You disappear to grow. And that's the separation. That's the gap they can't close, no matter how hard they reach, because you're gone now. Not physically, maybe, but energetically. You've transcended the level they thought they could keep you on. You don't need to announce it. They feel it. In their stomachs, in their chest, in the way they can't enjoy a single win without wondering if you're watching. That's the curse of playing with someone who had real power. You realize too late what you lost. You realize too late that silence wasn't weakness, it was war. So let them talk. Let them watch. Let them pretend they don't care while consuming everything you do. That's their karma. Yours? Yours is peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The kind that doesn't flinch when remembered or forgotten. The kind that knows exactly who it is without needing to announce it. You are no longer seeking. You are choosing. You are no longer proving. You are becoming. And when the final page is written, they'll realize you were never chasing clout. You were building a dynasty. Your name is trending. Still. Again. Always. Not because of noise, but because of presence. Because of the legend that your silence became. Because of the way you haunt without trying. Because of the way you became everything they claimed to be, but never could. You are who they post about in quotes, but could never embody in real life. You are the blueprint they can't trace. You are the truth they tried to silence, but couldn't. And now they know. You never needed to choose them, because you were always choosing greatness. And now they know. They know you were never one of them. Never built for the noise, never designed to beg for scraps of relevance. They know your silence is an absence. It's pressure. It's energy condensed into something too heavy for shallow minds to carry. Your silence is the warning before the quake, the stillness before the storm. It's the signal that something deeper is moving beneath the surface. They may not hear it, but they feel it. And that unease, that quiet panic they feel When your name comes up in conversations they swore they moved on from, that's what real impact looks like. You didn't just walk through their lives, you shifted them permanently. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a moment, a transformation, a mirror they couldn't lie to. That's why they argue. Because the version of you they lost, that version was patient, kind, open. The new one, refined, restrained, ruthless. They missed the access. The way you used to explain yourself, the way you used to answer every doubt, comfort every fear, heal wounds you didn't cause. But you've changed. You no longer break yourself to become what others need. Now, they either rise to your frequency or they disappear in the static. That's not cruelty, that's evolution. And that evolution wasn't pretty. It wasn't shared online. It happened in silence, under pressure, in private wars no one clapped for. You crawled through your own darkness, held your breath while drowning in betrayal, lost everything you thought you needed, only to find that the only thing you ever needed was you. And when you came back, you were unrecognizable. No longer the servant of your old wounds, no longer waiting for apologies that would never come. You became your own savior, your own voice, your own home. That's why they can't touch you now. Because you don't play on their board anymore. You built your own. And when they try to step into it with the same games and manipulation, they get swallowed. Because your space is sacred. It's built on discipline, on truth, on self-respect. And the thing about people who feed off chaos, they starve in the presence of real peace. That's why they keep circling. Not to love you, not to heal, but to see if the gates are still open. They don't miss you, they miss the access. But you've changed the locks, you've armored the walls, and now you watch from the tower you built with their doubts. They still don't know who you want, because you're not choosing based on fantasy anymore. You're choosing based on energy, on alignment, on vibration. You don't need people who complete you. You're already whole. You need people who expand you, challenge you, reflect your greatness, not resent it. And that level of awareness, it terrifies those who thought they could always return. Because they know they can't lie to the version of you that sees with X-ray clarity. They can't manipulate the version of you that's no longer addicted to potential. They can't play the same games with someone who sees the whole board now. So let them argue. Let them debate your worth while you multiply it in silence. Let them try to guess your next move while you already made it 3 steps ago. Let them pretend they don't care while you live rent-free in every corner of their digital world. Because while they're distracted with drama, you're building. While they post, you plan. While they spiral, you ascend. You are no longer triggered by rejection, no longer shaken by silence, no longer fooled by apologies dipped in manipulation. You've become immune to their tactics because you finally realized your value isn't tied to anyone's recognition of it. Your worth is sovereign, untouched, God-forged, and now you've entered a new phase, a phase where you no longer move for attention, but for intention, where you don't explain your actions to those who never deserved your words, where you don't shrink yourself for proximity or comfort. You expand, boldly, ruthlessly, without apology. You walk into rooms and the atmosphere adjusts, not because you speak, but because your presence forces truth to reveal itself. Fakes can't stand in your light. Cowards can't breathe in your frequency. And the insecure? They call you arrogant because they confuse self-respect with ego. Let them. Because here's the ultimate truth, the one they can't handle. You are not for everyone. You were never meant to be. You're not common, not digestible, not predictable. You are a rare event, a cosmic anomaly. And that energy, it repels the weak, the fake, the unready. That's not loneliness, that's elevation. Stop mourning connections that couldn't survive your growth. Stop explaining your glow to people still hiding from their own shadow. Stop making space for those who only came to drain. Your circle is sacred. Your time is holy. Your energy is divine. Treat it like the currency it is, because the broke ones will always try to spend what they never earned. And to those still watching, still talking, still wondering, yes, your name's trending. Still. Again. Not because you're loud, but because you're unforgettable. Because even in your absence, you change the atmosphere. Because your silence hits harder than their scream for attention. Because they're still trying to decode a frequency that was never meant for them to hear. Let them. Let them argue. Let them speculate. Let them drown in questions they'll never get answers to. Because the truth, you already won. You just stopped explaining it.